Yo, what is going on, guys? Average Player here. We're recording a little different today. The camera is right there, and I am using the audio off of Premiere Pro and doing a voiceover because I lost all my audio files. Fantastic, right? So the deck profile we're doing today is Salamangreat. It's an oldie and it's a goodie. Especially since Mirage Stalio's been back for a little bit. The deck is amazing. It overperforms for me all the time. Unfortunately, on Sunday, it didn't do the best. People weren't expecting it, but the deck is good. Obviously, we got the main deck, extra deck, and side deck that we are going to be going over today. In the main deck, the order of cards, if you haven't watched my videos before, we go over the archetype monsters first, and then we go over the non-archetype monsters. So generally, it's starters and extenders, and then the non-archetype starters and extenders. Then we go over the spell cards. We go archetype spell cards, non-archetype spell cards, and then the same thing with trap cards, which, in my opinion, is the best way to do a deck profile. The extra deck's basically the same way. You start off with your more important monsters and all that other stuff, and go backwards. So we're going to be starting off with the Salamangreat monsters, like I said, is one copy of Gazelle. He's obviously really good. You can only play one copy of him. If you could play more than one copy, you should, and I would recommend it, but I don't think he's ever coming back. 2 copies of Salamangreat Foxy is your next card. Foxy is amazing. You summon her, she excavates 3, you add a Salamangreat card from those excavated cards to your hand. She is amazing. Basically, she can add any one of your cards, your Gazelle, whatever you want. If you have 3, you can only add 1, but next is Spinny. These are one of the cards you can add off of Foxy. Spinny is actually a little bit better than Foxy. Spinny is like your top card that you want to add with Gazelle, but it's also an extender. It's amazing. Next, you're playing one copy of Salamangreat Foxer. She's amazing. If she's in your hand and you have 3 Salamangreat cards in your graveyard, with just cards in general, you can discard or blow up a card, and then if she's in the graveyard when a spell trap card's blown up, you can special summon her. Next is Salamangreat Fowl. When you normally special summon a Salamangreat monster, he special summons himself from your hand. He's an amazing extender. Next is one copy of Jack Jaguar. You can play that card at 2 copies if you want. Generally take out Foxer. Not everybody plays Foxer because she doesn't always come up. Jack Jaguar is one of the better cards, as he can special summon himself to his own like monster points to by returning a Salamangreat monster from your graveyard to your deck/extra deck. He is amazing. So it turns on most of the cards back again. Generally going to return Sunlight Wolf from Mirage Stalio, so you have access to those cards again. Because Sunlight Wolf every turn is allowed you to recur like an Ash Blossom and a Roar, and it's amazing. The last card you're going to be playing for these Salamangreat extenders, as I call it, is the Falco. If it's sent to the graveyard, it sets a Salamangreat card directly from your graveyard to your side of the field. And then, while it's in the graveyard, you can return a Salamangreat card from your side of the field to your hand to special summon itself back out. It's super amazing. It's a great extender. Obviously, you don't want to play any of these cards more than one, because it's not good to play other than Jack Jaguar. It's the only card here that I would recommend to play it more than one. Next, we're playing the non-Salamangreat starters. 2 copies of Flame Buffalo. Everybody knows what the card does. It's amazing. And then your 2 copies Lady Debug. It is your walking sign at mining. Lady Debug is amazing as well. Obviously, getting any card from your deck to your hand is awesome. The next card we are going to be playing, this is of your non-Salamangreat extenders, is 1 copy of Parallel Exceed. He can special summon himself to a zone and link monster points to, which is awesome. Which goes good with actually the next card on this list, which is 1 Sea Archiver, because Sea Archiver triggers when a monster is special summoned to a zone and link monster points to. Sea Archiver triggers in your hand or your graveyard, which is absolutely bonkers. But it can only trigger once per turn, and then after it triggers and it summons itself, if it's used for Link Summon or whatever and just sent to the graveyard normally, it is banished. So unfortunately, you can't use it twice unless obviously you use it for Link Summon, and it's not Link Summon, and actually summon it back in your graveyard. Next is 1 backup secretary. All you have to do is control a Cybers monster. She special summons herself for free on the field. She's great because generally, if you don't open any of your Salamangreat starters, she helps you make Mirage Stalio so you can get some extenders going. It's amazing. Next is your hand traps. You play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. In my opinion, it is one of the best hand traps in the game, as it stops most decks now. Even this deck in Sky Striker. Next card in hand traps is Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. Ghost Bell is amazing. It stops this deck and a lot of other decks in the format. It's amazing. And then the best hand trap in the game, 2 Infinite Permanence. Because Impermanence is probably the best hand trap in the game by negating a monster effect and also negating a spell and trap card column if the card is set. If you want to, you could cut down Ghost Spell to 2 copies and play 3 copies of Infinite Permanence. Like I said, Infinite Permanence is the best hand trap in the game. It's very resourceful, very useful. So that's what I would say I would do is cut that down. If you want to, because I do play Crossout Designator in my side deck, you can cut down cut down Ash Blossom to 2 copies and cut down Ghost Spell to 2 copies. Throw in a Crossout Designator and a Nibiru, and then you're basically going to call yourself golden, because then you really can't be stopped by anything. Problem is you got to draw it first. But that's going to do it for all the hand traps. That's my opinion the best lineup of hand traps in this deck. Next, we're going to be going over the Salamangreat spells, which is first copy Salamangreat Circle. Obviously, you would play this card at 3 if you could, but according to the limited list, it's at 1 because everybody thinks the card's busted. Next is 1 copy of Salamangreat Sanctuary and 1 copy of Will of Salamangreat. So Sanctuary and Will, you don't want to see more than 1 copy. They are bricks in your hand. And obviously, that's enough of the Salamangreat spells. You don't play very many. Next, we're going to go over the regular spells, which is 3 Signet Mining. If you're not playing 3 Signet Mining, what are you doing? It is probably the best non-Salamangreat card in the deck. Adding anything you want. Also has access to add or pitch a Salamangreat card, add Gazelle, and then Gazelle actually special summons itself off of that because the game doesn't recognize where Gazelle was at the time, which is amazing. Next, playing 1 Performer Ball Pop-Up. If you haven't seen my video before, it's a draw card. If you don't special summon the Pendulum monsters, it makes you take damage, which is okay. Next is 1 copy of Upstart Goblin. Everybody knows what that card does. It's amazing. And then 1 copy of Foolish Burial, which actually turns on most of your deck. It's an amazing card. Most of the time, Foolish Burial is a free special summon. So if you're not playing it in the deck, you're actually doing something wrong, in my opinion. So that's it for those. Not for all the spell cards, but for that set of spell cards. Next is 1 copy of Called by the Grave. I think this card should be at 3. The card's amazing. It helps you not get hand trapped. That's why I said you could play Crossout Designator if you wanted to. But now it's Salamangreat Traps, so you're playing 2 copies of Roar. You don't play 3 because it's a brick. Salamangreat Rage is your last Salamangreat Trap card. It can blow up more than 1 card. Next is 1 copy of Imperial Order for your traps that aren't Salamangreats, and 1 copy of Solemn Strike. Because Solemn Strike is really good in today's meta. It negates a monster effect, also negates any summon that's non-inherent, which is amazing. No, that's it for the main deck. Onto the extra deck, you're going to play 3 copies of Salamangreat Balinks. This is the card that generally gets everything going. It is your terraforming to get your Salamangreat Sanctuary from your deck to your hand, because you never want to see Sanctuary in your opening hand. It is a great card. And most of the time, it allows your Gazelle to proc or whatever you want to get back on the field. Helps you extend your plays to go into the next one, which next Link monster, which is 3 copies of Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. Sunlight Wolf is amazing, and most people think that when a card is normal or special summoned to his own Sunlight Wolf points to, it has to be a fire monster to add, but it doesn't have to be. So whenever your opponent summons to a monster that's on points to, it's amazing. Next is 1 copy of Salamangreat Heatleo and 1 copy of Hita, the Fire Charmer Ablaze. Also, 1 copy of Update Jammer, because this is a link spam deck. Update Jammer helps you get all your stuff out and power up your access code or Borload, but next you're playing Transcode and 1 copy of Borload Dragon. If you have access code, I would play access code in place of Borload Dragon, because access code is way better than Borload Dragon. Obviously, Update Jammer would make your Borload attack twice, which is amazing, or access code. Next, there's XCs, 1 copy of Mirage Stalio, play it 3 if you could, but you don't. 1 copy of Baguska, 1 copy of Dweller, and 1 copy of Zeus. In my opinion, this is the best lineup to stop stuff. Zeus, you generally play in any deck that can play an XC monster and make it easily, like Salamangreat. So it's like your backup play. Next, we're going to be going onto the side deck. You're playing 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment is a really good side deck card. It helps you out. Nobody really expects it. The next card is 2-Dimensional Barrier. I don't have 3, that's why I play 2. It shuts down a lot of decks, especially decks that don't link summon. Next card is going to be 3 Nibiru and Primal Being. It's that, obviously, Nibiru, everybody knows what that does. But it also coincides with Crossout Designator, which is coming up soon. 1 Gamshiel, because of pesky Appaloosas and cards that can't be destroyed. And like I said, cross out Designator, you play 2, you don't play 3 because, it's actually not that good anymore. You play 2 copies of cross out Designator and 1 Called by the Grave, you should be good. And next is 1 Harpy's Feather Duster and Lightning Storm for those pesky back row decks. Lightning Storm is also good against monster heavy things, obviously if the monsters can still be destroyed. But I hope you guys liked this video. Please drop a like, comment, and subscribe. It would be very appreciated. Obviously, like I said, I lost the audio files, so I had to edit it in a different way. And sorry if it seems like I was spitting everything out. See ya.